bringing a lot of baggage to this shoot. These are a handful, most of the things that I think Peter has inspired me to buy over the years. This is a daily use pouch that I use for switching from bag to bag with a lot of everyday essentials. I've got my first Peter McKinnon hat with the cool under brim thing, but my dog chewed it up, so I ended up getting another one. I've got my Peter McKinnon video NDs. I've actually bought 3 of these in my lifetime because I lost one of them at my in-laws' house. These are my Aperture MC devices. They're from Small Rig. They're cheaper. They don't connect to your phone, which is a bummer. But these are also inspired by Pete because he's always talking about the MCs and how much he loves them. Golden Hour Blend Coffee. I actually really enjoyed this, unironically. What are we doing here? I'm going to talk about Peter McKinnon and what I think his effect on the industry has been and what I think I do now that I don't watch him much anymore. But first of all, before any of that, Peter, this video is not for you to watch. You know, when you're on the internet, anything could go viral at any time, so I'm prepared for that and saying, Peter, this video is not for you. I'm sure you're a great man. I think everything you've done, probably business-wise, was the best choice, and maybe from my perspective just isn't my favorite, but I still think you're a perfectly fine individual, and hey, if you're ever in the Indiana area, please come to my house for dinner. I'd love to have you over. All right, what's my beef with Peter? I feel like Peter got rich and stopped being the scrappy guy trying to make great images with new tools that were coming out on the market. Some of that isn't his fault. All cameras are good now. You can get a great image out of any brand. There aren't huge advantages to being with any certain camera brand, and it really is all down to preferences. When you make content, you can't decide who your audience and fans are for a large part. And I don't think Peter ever really claimed or wanted to be the guy for freelance and low budget filmmakers, but that's who I am. And that's who I feel he's no longer talking to. When you get into larger budget productions, it becomes more about what you want to say and about the world, which is great. I love films, I love work that makes you think, but as a freelancer working on the lower end of the budget range, that's not really what I feel my job is. Clients want really great looking creative images, and there are practically limitless limitations. Okay, so now I'm just complaining again. Back to Peter. What's my problem with Peter? Well, Pete got rich. He's a millionaire. Great, good, I'm happy for him. Believe me, that's what I want for myself as well. And I want all of my fans to hate me because I got too rich. I have followed tons of creators for many years, and I guess a lot of them don't really see huge success like he does, which is sad in a way. But when their content and humor, etc. stays the same, I feel like I want to keep following them practically indefinitely. But yeah, something about the way he doesn't have to choose which lens to buy, not even getting to all the free stuff that he gets as well, makes his thoughts and feelings about cameras and how they work and what's worth buying much more difficult to understand. And once again, I don't think he ever asked to be the buyer's guide to investing in camera gear for making a business, but here we are. And I also think it's important to understand that I still think he can be a good reviewer. I think as a reviewer, he also brings in the concept of content creation and film production from many different levels that not all content creators who make camera reviews do. So I still respect his opinion, but you have to put into calculations in what he says all the free stuff he's had for the years. The fact that he gets the best of the best from each camera brand, he can afford whatever he wants. So him telling me that this is a great camera, I kind of have to add a bunch of layers on that, and at a certain point I'm not super interested in what he's saying anymore. You can't just make the same content he was making when I was a fan of his in 2017 and be successful on the platform today. I think he just chose a path that isn't what I wanted. I almost always would come away from his videos with something to try or a new way to think about video production. This is like a weird, sick thing, but the way that he talked about opening his office, I got invested in it, and finally he was opening it, and it was so frustrating to see him sitting it empty for 2 years and then just sell it. I just started to wonder if it had been a foolish choice from the beginning. Or maybe I just bought in too hard and the details of why he had to leave and sell it were too dang boring. Either way, that jerk made me care about it, and now it's gone. And that just speaks to his skills as a filmmaker. I think one level of this is that in 2017, I wanted what he had. I wanted to travel around and make content and get recognition for it. I wanted people to listen to my technical knowledge. I didn't really have any knowledge to share back then, and I finally feel like I know enough to say something to the broader community of video creators online through this channel. So what do we do now? Who do I watch for camera reviews? I mean, I used to tune into Peter McKinnon's camera reviews every couple months, whether it was a Sony or Canon or maybe perhaps a Nikon launch on a good year. But who do I watch instead of him now that I don't prefer to watch his channel? So if I'm looking for similar content about cameras and their value, I would recommend DP Review TV, Chris Brockhurst, and Gerald Undone. They all have their different ways of experimenting on their channels, but I find that all their side projects are worth watching, and I understand that their videos about video cameras as a market is kind of shrinking and disappearing, but I find all their camera reviews are definitely worth watching and definitely good. As far as other creators, I do follow the professional advice of Tyler Stallman and the Cranky Cameraman. Somewhere in between those two creators is where I'd like to be, you know, creating professional work for professional companies and brands, maybe a little bit of interviews and travels and stuff like Cranky Cameraman does, but also I really like Tyler's style and the things he's able to accomplish on a budget. So somewhere in between those two is where I would like to be. I don't exactly want to do what Cranky Cameraman does. He does a lot of news coverage, pretty simple interviews and stuff like that. I'd like to be a little more involved and not just fly in and use my FX9s to create bang-on interviews. But I also don't want to totally be like Tyler Stallman. He seems to work with a lot of big brands and make content for big brands that looks really nice, but I don't know how much of the fashion world I necessarily want to get into. So mix those two together. That's my professional goals where I'd like to be. Tyler Stallman creates video and photography for big brands like Camelback and Macy's. He seems to have a lot of connections in the modeling and fashion worlds. He loves video rigs and gear, but he keeps a lot of his YouTube productions bare bones, without a lot of needless accessories or silly bits. He doesn't always talk about being a freelancer, but when he does, it's usually pretty valuable to me. Cranky is on a totally different level. He is bare bones. All his gear is beat to shit and he likes it that way. Don't ask him to film a vertical video, but I respect how reliable and dialed in his products are. Most importantly, he is working and he is making a living. He's not swept up in getting YouTube or Instagram views, but he shares his values about his on-set experience and he gives it all to me for free. I'm always thankful for that. I think his business model is realistic and practical, which I can't say for every YouTuber I follow. I will say too, I have not seen a whole lot of Cranky Cameraman's end products other than his YouTube videos, so there may be some additional context I'm missing there, but for the most part, the stuff he makes is really great, and the stuff that I've seen is really great, and it's really impressive that he gets flown all around the country just to do his thing because he's so dialed in and perfected what his craft is. The Cranky Cameraman is actually who inspired this video because I started following him after seeing a Reddit post where people were recommending alternative creators to follow other than Pete. So hope this video wasn't too complainy. I think a lot of people feel similarly and may not be able to express what I've just said in the same way. So if this is how you feel, please start a discussion below in the comments. And if you want to stick around, I am the Peter McKinnon for Nikon cameras. Okay, not really, but I do try to make videos about making videos, especially with Nikon video cameras. So if that's something you're interested in, please subscribe. If you want to support my work, I have a moment shot below that kicks a few cents my way on your next purchase. So get your favorite Peter McKinnon Nomad bag today.